I'm Barak Hawa Brakatha Yahusha Barak Hawa Brakatha Yahusha Ba Shem Rakakwadash. The honors to the apostles, the elders. Salutations to you, sincere brothers, teaching and truth and in sincerity. Lesson will be entitled, We Built This City. Lord will you are edified, my source. How Africa. Article entitled, The Roles of Enslaved Africans Who Were Israelites. In South Carolina, Blue Dye Market, published 3 months ago. Historians credit the use of indigo in textile production to West Africans who were Israelites. Okay? Before the arrival of the Europeans in the 15th century, the indigo plant is the source of the blue dye, which fueled the economic wealth of South Carolina. The success of the blue dye to the economy of South Carolina would be incomplete without the contributions of the enslaved Africans. Okay, again, who were Israelites, mainly the Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes, so-called Haitians, and so-called Jamaicans. Okay, who were involved in its cultivation, experimentation, and mass production for international markets as documented by the Institute of the Black World. Indigo became the second biggest foreign exchange earner after rice for the local economy of South Carolina. Indigo is one of the plant species that grows in tropical areas like India, Africa, and Latin America. Botanical researchers claim that early Indians are the first to make use of the extract of the indigo plant, but the plant became prominent in the South Carolina economy in the early 1700s when it was badly needed to feed textile factories in England. And also, these early Indians are Israelites as well, and they are from the tribe of Gad. Okay, we built this city. Okay, the city is a representation for the United States of America, this corporation. Okay, according to the Charleston County Public Library, the planting and extracting of the dye from indigo required a lot of labor. The indigo plantations fell on enslaved Africans, again, Israelites. They grew the plant in South Carolina. The fortune and wealth of the British economy were dependent on the volumes of indigo plantation owners South Carolina produced. However, the natives of South Carolina were partially involved in the cultivation of indigo because they were not certain of its economic value. They considered its production laborious, costly, and time-consuming, especially when its profit was not guaranteed. Not until the 19th century, when the cheap labor from slavery was in abundant supply, the cultivation of indigo among natives of South Carolina was minimal. The arrival of the African slaves, Israelites, gave the indigo business a boom as many had knowledge of its cultivation and production. Their knowledge of processing indigo into blue dye came in handy, but they had to offer it for free to plantation owners in South Carolina because of their status. Why? Because they were slaves, because they were enslaved, because they were bondmen and bondwomen. One of the pioneers of the blue dye who benefited immensely from the knowledge of the enslaved was Eliza Lucas, okay? And she was an Edomite. She is regarded as the godmother of indigo production in South Carolina. She lived on the Wapo Creek plantation where she conducted analysis on the extraction of dye from indigo. She was assisted in these experiments by the enslaved who did not only cultivate the plant but also operated in her laboratory. Individuals such as Charles Hill, James de la Chapelle, Thomas Mellichamp, and Andrew D. Vu, and other enslaved Africans who were Israelites as well contribute to the Eliza Lucas exploits with the blue dye. Okay. The reason why we receive a classification of West Africans, okay, was because of Roman persecution. Case in point. Matthew 24 and verse 1. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, See you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone on another that shall not be thrown down. What is Yahushua prophesying? He's prophesying the invasion of the Roman persecution and how our city would be destroyed because of this Roman persecution. And because of this Roman persecution, what happened? We fled into Africa as well as the west coast of Africa, okay? And therefore, we received a classification being identified as West Africans, okay? Further proof to support my claim. Let's go to Revelation, right? 12 and 6. And the woman, which is a representation for the nation of Israel, and regarding this context, okay, mainly the southern kingdom, okay? All right, so-called Negroes, so-called Jamaicans, and so-called Haitians, okay? Mainly the southern kingdom. And the woman fled into the wilderness. This wilderness is referring to Africa, where she has a place prepared of the Most High. Now, this place is referring to America, okay? That they should feed her there 1,203 square days, and this is a grand total of 350 years, all right? And the reason why this happened, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 15. But it shall come to pass, future tense, if you will not listen unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh your power to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses, meaning indignation, which is defined as righteous anger. Why? Because we broke the law, statutes, and the commandments, and because we did not fulfill our obligations, we were punished. Okay? That all these curses shall come on you and overtake you. Now let's jump down to 68. And the Lord Yahweh shall bring you into Egypt again. America is modern day Egypt. And within modern day Egypt, within America, you have a place called what? South Carolina. Okay? Ships, referring to what? The transatlantic slave trade. And the Lord Yahweh shall bring you into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto you. You shall see it no more again, our land, for a long period of time. And there, meaning America, you shall be sold unto your enemies Edomites are our enemies, so-called white people, such as Eliza Lucas. She was an Edomite that inherited slaves. Okay? She is our enemy. And again, Edomites, so-called white people, this is based on the lineage of your fathers. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, hence enslaved. Okay? Bond is synonymous with slave. Okay? Slave men and slave women, and no man shall buy you. Okay? The only person that can redeem us is Yahushua. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. Hence, she was assisted in these experiments by the enslaved, these bondmen, these bondwomen, who did not only cultivate the plant but also operated in her laboratory. Who? Individuals such as Charles Hill, James de La Chapelle, Thomas Mellichamp, and Andrew D. Vu, and other enslaved Africans who were Israelites as well, contribute to the Eliza Lucas exploits with the blue dye. Come on, man. Joel 3:3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. They have cast lots for my people, these Edomites. Okay, the lots, those fucking auction blocks. Okay, how they would bid us to be sold to the highest bidder. Okay, the scriptures is our book, and and at this time frame, I'm referring to the elect of Israel. The elect of Israel. Another key point, just one more. It states their knowledge of processing. Whose knowledge? The Israelites' knowledge of processing indigo into blue dye came in handy, but they had to offer it for free to plantation owners in South Carolina because of their status, because they were slaves, because they did not have any rights. Okay, which I thought about James chapter 5 and verse 4. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. Now, at this time frame, we're talking about this system, okay? And how this system basically is fraudulent. Meaning what? It's a credit-based system, okay? It's based on credit and not real substance, okay? Which of you kept back by fraud cry, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of armies. That's what Sabaoth means. Okay. Now, who is crying to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah? The elect of Israel, beginning with the 144,000. However, we can equate James 5:4, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. Okay? Because their knowledge of processing indigo into blue dye came in handy, but they had to offer it for free to plantation owners in South Carolina because of their status. And more than likely, these Edomites would tell their slaves, look, if you help do this, we will give you this. We will free you, or so on and so forth. You know, we've seen this countless times on these movies, how Esau would promise the slaves freedom if they did something, if they did a bidding for them. However, they still got fucked in the end. Nothing is new under the sun. We built this corporation. We built this city. Lord will, you're edified. Shalom.